this is my motto, and I tell whenever I do speeches for small business owners, I always say, love your business, but don't fall in love with your business because then it's hard for you to step away from it
Right.
and realize that this is only drowning me more in, as we go along because every business you have that's failing is costing you money.
Hmm.
And businesses cost a lot more money than your own household. So
Yeah.
you're generally spending a lot of money to keep something alive that it can't support itself.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Your Lab Central. Today I have with me Bryan Wetzel. So, Brian, would you like to tell our audience why they should be excited about this conversation?
Well, because anytime you get to hear from new people, you get to get different perspectives, and I believe in people with open minds talking, even when they don't agree. That's a good way to learn new things, try and see where different people are coming from in their life. Everyone has a different direction, and I think that you should always be open to talking and listening to different people. I try to as much as possible. It's not always easy. Sometimes you vehemently disagree with someone's perspective, but I think that's the wrong attitude. So I try and push that away.
Mhm. Now, that's a great point you put, right? Me sitting here, trying, talking to different people from across the globe. That's also a great perspective to have because I can't agree with everybody. So it just happens
Hmm.
somebody saying something, and then I just keep quiet because the show is about the guest itself, right? I can't exactly just to cut them across and something on that sort. So, but we try to carry the conversation in a manner that everybody likes to hear it, right? Checking, I was trying to check about you, what you've been doing through life. So saw that you've been wearing a lot of hats. So does it come from that same philosophy that you try to reach out to a lot of people, talk to them, you get a lot of perspectives, and all of those have come together to give you a lot of perspective?
Well, I think the hats thing sort of kind of be by accident, and for those listening, wearing a lot of hats is I've had a lot of jobs, a lot
Mhm.
of businesses I've bought or started. I'll be honest with you, it's not always a good thing because I get bored fast, and so I'm always looking for something new. That doesn't always make the people around you feel uh, good because you're always striking up new ventures. It's worked out for me most of the time, not always. I've had some
Yeah.
failures, but I learned from them. And I even write about some of those failures um, as much for myself as so that other people can learn from those failures.
Mhm.
But I think that because I have had many people in many industries and many different job titles, I have met a lot of people in different with different points of view and different lifestyles, and you learn that we're all just people, and
Yeah.
a lot of us all want the same thing. It doesn't matter how you dress or what jewelry you wear or you know or
Mhm.
whatever. We're all just trying to get along and find our best path, and and I think that that's what we should always support, that you're on your path and
Mhm.
I'm on mine. And they don't have to be parallel the entire time.
Yeah. So, since I'd like to deep dive into what's the different things that you've done, right? So, if you had to pick out and choose what was one of the most successful things that you've done, which ones would you call it? I don't know, you could say, depending if it's a business or something that you love doing a lot, or is it that created a lot of impact, whatever you
Mhm.
define success as.
Well, so I used to have a production company and we did, and I'm 57, so this goes back to the 90s, early 90s when we started it. And, that was tape back then, it wasn't even digital.
Mhm.
But getting started and getting your first big gig, which was
Yeah.
a concert, and then I worked the Olympic stage, the AT&T stage at the Atlanta Olympics,
Right.
um, and that production company eventually made. videos that were commercials or infomercials or instructional videos or whatnot that were being seen all around the world.
Hmm.
And I felt very proud of that, that we had been a part of something that was, shaping someone else's business in a positive way. Or sometimes when you back then, I just wanted to see that we were growing and progressing in what we were doing.
Hmm.
And I always tried to be proud of it. There was, sometimes things don't go as well. I did a concert once where equipment was breaking down and it wasn't always ours. Sometimes it was the audio engineers
Hmm.
or something on the stage went wrong. And, you just have to roll with it. And you just have to kind of have to laugh because you really can't do anything about it once it's
Yeah.
broken.
Hmm.
Um, but with respect to that, I think that was probably some of my most successful stuff. And I did some TV shows and
Hmm.
did a lot of commercials that aired across the country. Um, and outside of that, I think being a father is probably also maybe my
Yeah.
biggest thing. I have a daughter and a son, and then I have a stepdaughter and a stepson. And you are always either perplexed by what they're doing as they're in their 20s now, or you're laughing about it.
Yeah.
And I try. My wife and I have taken the task of trying to guide them, but not hold their hand.
Mhm.
Um, and so I would say that's a huge success of mine. And my daughter actually works for one of my companies.
Okay.
And then I've become an author in the past
Okay.
5 years, and I feel so. I will the first book was on education. The second book was on faith and spirituality, and I will get emails daily from people wanting to tell me their stories
Right.
or tell me how it positively helped them to
Mhm.
rethink things, and that is very it's very fulfilling in a way that I'm not saving the world, but if somebody gets something small out of something I've done that
Yeah.
makes their, even if it's only for a day,
Hmm.
feel better.
Yeah.
Like I think those are the little wins in life that you have to have. I once was working with Norm Macdonald, who was a famous actor comedian in the States, and he was a comedian who was very edgy and kind of a goofball a lot of times. But we were out and somebody came up to him to get an autograph for his mother who was at home with cancer. And he took the time to phone her on the spot.
Right.
And I'll never forget this. I said, "That's so nice that you would do that, take that time." And he said, "Well, being a celebrity, just by saying hello to someone, you have the power to make their day or their week happier." And he's like, "So why wouldn't you do
Right.
that when you have the opportunity?" And he wasn't putting down we didn't talk about it, but he wasn't putting down people who didn't, but he was clearly making a choice that, you know, if you can if you can make somebody smile for a few minutes just by saying hello to them, why wouldn't you? And I kind of see the books as is that as as well, because particularly with the spirituality book, the Path to Faith book, it's kind of my journey as well. And so people read it and go, yeah, I had similar things happen, and I'm glad that somebody was able to put it down so that I understand that it's not just me, or I'm not the only one who's ever been through this.
Mhm. Now, obviously, you've been doing great as an author, but since you've done a lot of things, I just wanted to know from your perspective, or I don't know if you can generalize the idea,
Mhm.
if somebody is doing something successful, at least outwardly successful, why would you go from doing that to completely cutting it off and doing something else? Or did I misinterpret the situation?
Well, I always loved being creative, and that was what my earliest career was. Sadly, um, when you get to be older, and this is just kind of the world we live in now, the opportunities to work in entertainment, they sort of, particularly with creation, started to dwindle away a bit because they want younger, hipper. They think that the youthful point of view and creativity is what they need.
Yeah.
And which is funny because for a few years I would get people asking me, "Can you fix this?" Someone else did it with less experience, and now it's
Yeah.
not right. Um, and so as I saw those sort of falling away, I realized that I kind of needed a new path. I missed it, um, but it's just part of life. Things, you move on sometimes, even when you don't want to. I
Mm-hmm.
think that pushing back against moving on is just a way of delaying the inevitable. And I didn't want to do that. So I was already an entrepreneur and I had the opportunity to buy a gym, a fitness club that was closing. And so I took that opportunity. And from there, we bought a restaurant. And, um, and then I started writing books. And writing a book is hard, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But it sort of fulfilled that creative outlet
Yeah.
where I could just pour it all out on a page.
Mm-hmm.
And I was used to writing scripts and writing short stories for film and video. And so the jump to writing a book wasn't a terrible
Yeah.
change. It wasn't a stretch, but trust me, writing a book is hard. I didn't realize how hard it was. But the education book, which was also part of some experiences I had with a company I started with some friends, I did 4 years of research
Mm-hmm.
and deep dives and about 68 to 70 interviews and then just putting that all down that where it made sense. It was a difficult task and but it was a great experience. And
Mm-hmm.
I would do it again, even knowing how hard it is. Because you can always this is the thing. I was proud of the outcome, and like I said, I will get emails from teachers who say, finally somebody is telling the story that I can't tell because I'm still working in education.
Right. Now, talking about things that are hard, right? There must have been some things that were not as successful or probably just downright failures, as you mentioned, right? You had a few failures.
Hmm.
But there would also have been things that you started off feeling that, yeah, this is the thing that I should be doing in my life. But then it just became a dud, right?
Hmm.
What
Yeah.
what was that trigger that made you realize that this is a dud?
I'll tell you a funny thing about that. Two of my biggest failures I'm still most proud of. I thought they were the best ideas. I just couldn't get everyone else to agree, apparently.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so, you know, you, I tell people that you have to you've heard this before, I'm sure, but the journey is more important sometimes than the destination.
Yeah.
And the creation of those ideas, fleshing them out, working and collaborating with other people to make it as the best it could be. I'm still very proud of those. When it comes to identifying when you should walk away, that's a hard one. I've actually written about this several times because when you do something like a project or a business that you start from scratch, where it's your baby, like
Yeah.
you came up with it, and it's hard to let go of it. You just want everyone to know that it's a beautiful baby. Why you need to pay more attention? But that's not always how it works out, and you know sometimes it's inevitable based on money.
Hmm.
Other times you just realize that you're spinning your wheels and you're not really getting anywhere. And you have to, this is my motto. And I tell, whenever I do speeches for small business owners, I always say, love your business, but don't fall in love with your business because then it's hard for you to step away from it
Right.
and realize that this is only drowning me more in, as we go along, because every business you have that's failing is costing you money,
Hmm.
and businesses cost a lot more money than your own household. So
Yeah.
you're generally spending a lot of money to keep something alive that it can't support itself. And that's just generally how I look at it, that if it can't support itself after, and I always tell people, set your time for it to get on its feet before, when you're starting the company, and stick to that. If you
Yeah.
say, I'm going to give this a year and a half or 2 years, and you're at 2 years and you start thinking in your head, well, maybe just another 6 months will help, it probably won't.
Yeah.
2 years is a long time if you can't make that business function well enough, then it probably just isn't going to happen.
Thanks for that. I mean, yeah, having that perspective, right, to love your business but not fall in love with, because that's just
Right.
that's the first time I'm hearing it, and it's wonderful actually to get that. Now, since you talked about you go out and talk to a lot of small business owners, what are the
Hmm.
other avenues that you use, specifically anything to do with social media?
Yeah, so that is very important these days. Generally speaking, what I do is I tell them that they need to get somebody who knows how to manage all that stuff for them. If you're an
Okay.
older person and that's all uh, confusing to you,
Hmm.
don't not do it. Don't use the social media. And particular, like Twitter is a huge forum, but Twitter's not necessarily good on a local level. Probably Instagram, Facebook, some of the there's one called Locals that I think is only in my area, but
Okay.
it highlights, oh, Alignable. It highlights local businesses where everyone can network. Um, but your ability to reach people nowadays. So if you go back to the 1990s, if I
Yeah.
wanted to advertise a business, I would have to pay a lot of money for a
Right.
magazine ad, for a
Yeah.
billboard, for, we used to call it spray it and pray for it, where you just throw out ads everywhere and hope that they
Yeah.
garner something. Now with social media, you can be really specific. You can go into most of them and literally say, here's where we are. I want a 6 mile radius, and I want my ads to appear only here, or you can do
Yeah.
10 mile, whatever you want. And my Facebook ads for my restaurant, I used to do different areas. Um, but you can, and it's not very expensive.
Yeah.
uh, for very little money, you can hit thousands of people on social media ads. And the one thing you do need to learn, though, is that you need to be able to network and link all of your social media. So I have a Substack page and I have a
Uh-huh.
YouTube page, and I'm always taking those links after and putting them on X, on all the other social media. And anytime I post something over there, I move it over. You need to be creating like a web so that
Right.
everybody is following back to where you want to get them to. And
Hmm.
then if it's your business, then you want to link everything back to your business page. And
Hmm.
that's how you get people to stumble upon you without maybe knowing who you are.
Uh-huh.
Um, but and here's the other thing about advertising, on whether it's advertising on social media or anywhere, but
Hmm.
social media makes this easier. I always put a different promo
Uh-huh.
in the different social media ads. That way I can track,
Yes.
like say this word and get 10% off, or say this. I want to know where I'm getting most of the business from. And a lot of times, if you ask the customer, they won't remember. I think I saw it here. Yeah, you want to be specific. So I'll put a
Yeah.
different coupon code in different ads so that I know exactly how many came from that social media site.
Mhm. So yeah, that's something that a lot of people do. I mean, not specifically using a different coupon code on different websites, but
Hmm.
just the way the platform itself tracks the whole thing, right? It helps them give them that, yeah, this person came from this ad itself. So that is trackable on different platforms, so they can do that. But otherwise as well, that's perfectly fine to do. From a
Hmm.
personal branding
It's a good
perspective,
idea.
yeah, because you can separate out and make sets out of your customers itself, right? Just so you know, yeah, this person
Hmm.
is coming from
Yeah.
that area and something of that sort. From a personal
Yeah.
branding perspective, have you used it? What kind of lookout do you have when you go
What kind
out?
of what?
No, I mean, when you go out on social media as Bryan, not as your
Right.
business, uh, what do you do differently?
Oh, well, first of all, when you go on as a business, keep it strictly to business.
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy once who was he was using his business also as his personal, but he was
Okay.
also posting political comments and different things. There's no
Very.
reason to alienate your customers based on things that have nothing to do with your business. Keep them separated.
Mhm.
And quite frankly, a lot of times they will still find your personal. And I'm not good. I used to not be very good at it, but now I am. Look, the stuff I don't post many opinions anymore online. Um, and I don't even know if that's even healthy in our world. But when it comes to your business, just keep it strictly to business. I have a gym, for instance, and anything that goes on the page is about the gym or fitness. If I see an
Yeah.
article about new research on being healthy, I'll post
Yeah.
that on there.
Mhm.
Um, Keep it strictly to the
Related to business.
business that you're doing because you don't need. First of all, you don't need to be getting into arguments with people when you're asking them to come spend money with you.
Yeah, right.
Um, it's not a good it's not a good way to hold on to your customers. And there's a lot of people nowadays who, when I was younger, my dad would have arguments with the neighbor. They would be playing cards and they would be arguing about world things that I didn't care about it. And I was,
Hmm.
13, 12, whatever. And nobody cared. Nowadays, a lot of people take things very serious or uh, they take offense to things, and it's just best to avoid those kinds of things. Nowadays, if somebody wants to engage me in a political conversation, I will generally say, look, if I talk to you, we have to both agree that we both want the best for people and
Yeah.
society, and that I'm not saying things because I hate people. This is just my opinion
Yeah.
and perspective, and I will treat you the same way. But if the conversation deviates to name calling or anger, at that point we have to cut it off.
But I'm just deviating, but getting such a person to talk to you, I mean, when you're from two different strongholds, per se, of two different, very varying thought processes, how easy is it to find such a person who is sane enough to say that, yeah, not do any name calling, something of that?
Well, the funny thing is, they all say they won't, but about 50% of the time, you can feel it sort of edging over towards that direction.
Um,
And then I usually will just say, well, okay, we agree to disagree. I don't want to, I can feel when they're, whether it's their voice or whatever, you can kind of feel when they're getting agitated.
mhm.
And I just don't, vehemently disagree with certain things, but that's your opinion. I don't hold anything against anybody who believes differently. It is my opinion anyway that
Yeah.
everybody just wants the best,
Mhm.
but we just all have different directions we think
Yeah.
will get us there. And
No,
so as long as I'd always try to tell people, if you
yeah.
approach me with that attitude, I'll talk to you all day long.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do. finding people who love to talk and then share insights and talk about the knowledge. So that's what I've been trying to do here, and
Yeah.
it's working out fine. So hopefully keeps working out.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, what are you doing these days? You mentioned you're an author these days, and you have a gym and a couple of restaurants, I think. What else are you doing?
Now we sold the restaurants,
Uh,
and we used to have two gyms. I think COVID really crushed one of those, but the first one we ever owned is still going strong.
okay. So
But what am I doing these days?
yeah.
I'm actually writing
Hmm.
another book.
Hmm.
I probably won't come out for 2 years because I have a lot of research to do on it.
Hmm.
But this one is more in line with what we've been talking about. It's really I decided to break down the 10 most common things that I see small business owners do that
Hmm.
hurt their success
Right.
unknowingly. Because a lot of times you're when you're stuck in the stress of the daily grind, you sometimes don't realize things you're doing that
Hmm.
if you were to step outside and hear your friends say you would disagree with, but when you're doing it, it doesn't occur to you because you're just in reaction mode.
Uh, so thank you so much for joining me in. This is an amazing conversation going
Thanks
from
for having me.
it was just all the way, but we talked about ups and downs, successes and failures, and lessons we take from that. Um,
Hmm.
so where can people get in touch with you before we close?
Well, you can get in touch with me. The easiest way is BryanThomasWetzel.com. So it's BryanThomasWetzel.com.
Mhm.
And I just put out everything there, and it all links to my social media and books and whatnot. That way, I have one central. And what we were talking about earlier, I guide everything to one direction, no matter where you end up finding me.
Mhm. Now,
So,
since you talked about directions, just one question popped in my mind. How
mhm.
many different occupations, or if you could just list down everything that you've done?
Well, when I got out of school as young, I wanted to play baseball. And then I realized I wasn't tall enough or fast enough to go past where I was. So I did that for a while, and sort of floundered and did some independent league stuff. But mostly, I went to film school and photography school, and I was a photographer for a while for commercial photography, which then the company I was working for pushed me into doing film because they needed someone, and I was the closest thing that knew how to run the equipment.
Yeah.
And from there, I was doing film, which I was one of the first in my area to jump over to digital,
Okay.
which is why we were so successful suddenly because suddenly we had this expensive digital equipment that no one else was using. And so once I got done being a videographer, filmmaker, I was writing scripts for people. I was doing corporate projects,
Mhm.
all in video. And then when I left that, I just became an entrepreneur and, you know, had multiple businesses. Some, as I said earlier, failed,
Mhm.
um, and some stuck around. The gym is stuck around the longest. And the
Right.
restaurant, I loved running a restaurant, but the thing about a restaurant is anybody out there who's thinking about owning a restaurant, I thought I would be able to hire enough general managers where I didn't have to be there all the time. It didn't happen that way. I was there all the time,
Uh-huh.
late when you didn't have somebody enough people working, or if you were having trouble hiring, and it wasn't good for the family life. And so we sold that off because it was just too taxing
Yeah.
personally. Although I did love it. I'm a little comedian at times, and so I could walk around behind the bar and play part-time bartender and poke fun at everybody. But that's not really a good reason to own a restaurant.
Right. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for joining me. And
Thank, Thanks for having me.
So to the audience who've been listening and watching, the if you liked what we talked about, do leave a like. The comment section is open for questions, suggestions, or if you want to add to the conversation, that's also possible. And don't forget to subscribe before you close. Thank you for joining in. Thank you so much. Thanks, bye.
Thank you.